It's my pleasure to have you here this evening. And I want to say Happy New Month to all of us. It's going to be a fruitful month for all of us. We will see the goodness of God in this particular month. It's going to be a blessed month for every one of us. So, as usual, we are going to kickstart without wasting time. This is the first series in the month of April. We will have the second one in the next 2 Sundays. So it's my pleasure to have you here this evening once again. I'm so glad because of the fact that I have been opportune to drag someone important to me, important to you, important to all of us onto this platform. Very soon we'll get to know. I know we've seen him, we've seen his face, but we'll get to meet him one-on-one, especially through his profile. So, public service HR mentorship, shaping HR, elevating public service. Shaping HR, elevating public service. And that is our mantra. And that is what we want to achieve. And when we are talking about shaping HR, we are talking about developing HR professionals who are knowledgeable, who are strategic, and impactful in their roles. When we say developing HR professionals who are knowledgeable, we're simply saying we don't want us to be incompetent. We cannot afford to be incompetent. We cannot afford to be unskilled. We cannot afford to be uninformed. And also, we cannot be charlatan. So, when we say HR are strategic, we're actually saying that we don't want to be HR that will be reactive. No. That's not who we are. We don't want to be HR that are short-sighted. We don't want to be HR professionals that are unfocused. We don't want to be HR professionals that are disorganized. No. So when we say we are strategic, we simply means we are not reactive, but we are proactive. We are not short-sighted, but we are what? Long-sighted. We are not looking at the immediate picture alone. We are looking at a very large picture, and we are not disorganized. Please, you can prove it to me that we are not disorganized, even on our duty posts. We are not disorganized. And when we say we are making impact in our roles, we are simply saying that we are not ineffective. No. That's not who we are. We are not uninspiring. Please don't ever be. And we are not mediocres. And we are not dead weights. No, that's not who we are. That's not who we are. We are making impact, and we are going to make impact. And that is the dream of this platform. That is what we want to achieve. And I know when we come together like this, we are going to get ourselves knowledgeable. We will place ourselves in strategic positions, making impact on our duty post. Okay, so, and when we have done all of these things, that is, when HR is well structured and efficient, it will directly improve the quality of public service we are dreaming of. So you and I, let's come together. Let's always join hands together to make sure that we buy into continuous learning. Continuous learning is the key to all we are talking about. And that's what this platform is all about. So we will do everything in our capacity to bring on this platform people that can impact our lives positively, people that we can always call our role models, people that we can call our mentors, that will be there for us at any point in time when it's looking like we are not getting it. We know who to run to, because we cannot afford to just be mediocres on our duty post. HR is going to reshape the structure of the service. We are going to deliver, and that is what we are dreaming of. And that is the reason for this platform. That is the reason for this platform. So I want to introduce to us this evening a distinguished leader. A distinguished leader is not defined. Please understand that one. It's not defined by what? By titles held. No, but by the legacy of excellence, integrity, and impact left behind. And that is the epitome of what Mr. Bangboye is all about. And who is this Mr. Bangboye we are talking about? Now, when he sent his profile to me, honestly, I couldn't help myself. So I was planning to play safe. I came up with 2 versions of his profile. This is the abridged profile in case of incasity, but I cannot afford not to read the profile of this distinguished leader. He's my mentor. He's someone I hold in high esteem. So I am going to jump this one. I prepared this one because in case we could have anything that is called it, but we are having a smooth sail, no it at all. So I will go straight to the profile of Mr. Bangboye. Okay, Mr. Bangboye was born on the 24th January 1966 to educators Samuel and Beatrice Bangboye, both of blessed memory. A thoroughbred professional with a strong educational background and commitment to public service excellence. Mr. Bangboye is an alumnus of Harvard University, Continuing Education Division, Professional Development Program. He has MSc and PhD in Mass Communication, University of Lagos. He has BA in Language Art Education, University of Ilorin, second class upper. He has NC in English History, Ogun State College of Education, affiliated with University of Ibadan. Look at his career. Look at Mr. Bangboye's career. Mr. Bangboye began his public service career in 1988 as a teacher. He transitions to administration and human resource cadre in 2002. He has served in key institutions like Public Service Office, Civil Service Commission, and Ministry of Establishment. He was a private secretary to 3 consecutive heads of service between the year 2010 and 2015. Mr. Bangboye was appointed permanent secretary in 2015. He has served in multiple agencies, including Office of Chief of Staff, Ministry of the Environment, Office of Establishment and Training, Local Government Service Commission. His major contribution to the public service include, but not limited to, he led training of 16,000 plus public servants during COVID-19 using ICT, a 100% increase over prior year. He midwife the creation of tourism and ICT cadre in local government service to improve revenue and service delivery. He spearheaded numerous strategic committees such as town hall meetings, national minimum wage negotiation, permanent secretary screening committee, Eyingbeti Summit editorial lead, health sector reforms committee. His professional affiliations include, is a fellow Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, NITAD, member Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, He is also associate member of Nigerian Institute of Management. Mr. Bangboye's personal life is known for integrity, diligence, and commitment to service. He's happily married to Mrs. Monisola Bangboye and is blessed, and they're both blessed with children. Join me as we welcome Mr. Bangboye to this great platform. You know, only a great platform like this can welcome distinguished leaders like Mr. Bangboye. Oga, you're welcome, and thank you for coming here. I appreciate you. We appreciate you seriously. And then we will yield the floor while I ask Olaiton to please take over.
Let me start by congratulating you on the very, very essential way that you have started giving back to your immediate community. I must confess that I am more than impressed that you never waited till you get appointed, that you have started adding value, further value, quality value to the system. Well, thank you also for that modest introduction. I feel overwhelmed and flabbergasted. But one thing that has impressed me is that having joined about 25 minutes ago, I have seen that we now have well over almost 58 or more people already getting on into the class. This shows that you are actually like a voice that is already being reckoned with. I wish all those on the platform a very beautiful evening, and will just appeal that we commence on the topic. Well, Bolabo gave this topic, I have to confess, and the title is Leave, Types, Application and Processes in Public, and knows that I will be looking at it from just 5 key platforms. There will be introduction, then I'll go on the types of leave in the public service. We will also discuss leave, application and processes, and then the benefits of leave. And I am going to close the class in a rather unusual manner because I have put a question just as my closing comment, which I want all of us to really ruminate over. Now, you don't get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. If your focus is just to make a living and not make a life, then you have to realize it, that work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. But we have 4 other balls that is so critical to your existence. And this, you are actually, in a way, impacting negatively on your life and your future. Then we also have this belief that if you don't have time for a break, you definitely need a break. The break in the 2 circumstances address the issue of rest and getting broken. Service that we should just be plugged on ending, because when you unplug for a few minutes, you will still get started later. Now, what is leave? I want to believe the slide is being, my slides are being shared. Or yes, are we working on it?
It's been shared, sir.
Okay. Can I continue?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. A leave is an authorized absence of an officer from duty for a specific period as provided for in the public service rules. And we also have other extant documents that speak to leave. For instance, we have a dynamic service, and I believe you all know. So at some point, circulars are issued to further give conditions for some leaves and how it will be, you can get approval for them. And we have to realize that authorized absence are often granted based on some reasons. It could be for family reasons, it could be for health concern, and other legitimate reasons that we will discuss when we get to the various types of leave. But the overarching rationale behind authorization for leave is that employment status must be protected and preserved. It must not be jeopardized. And so it becomes very critical that when you seek for leave, irrespective of the type, you are only as much as possible trying to protect and secure your employment status. Then we need to know some key concepts when we speak to leave. The first is the leave year. This actually is the period between 1st January and 31st December of every year. And the leave address is the contact or place where an officer could be reached during leave. We also have earned leave. That is the one that you are qualified to enjoy and observe in view of the service or services that you have rendered to government. Then we have the leave earning period, which is the qualifying period of duty before officers could be granted leave. And finally, we have date of resumption of duty from leave. This, as it is stated, is the date following the date of the expiration of the leave. Now, let's go to the types of leave. And I want to enjoin you to please be very attentive. The first one is the annual leave. And this is calculated based on working days only. And it is also granted in accordance with officer's salary grade level. If you're on level 8 and above, or a political appointee, particularly from the rank of special assistant upwards, including the commissioner and other ESCO members, we are all entitled to 30 working days. Working days refer to the fact that you calculate only Monday to Friday. Saturdays and Sundays are exclusive. For those on level 4 to 7, they have 21 days. And then 3 and below enjoy 14 working days. We call it annual because it is believed that the computation is based on the fact that you have spent 12 full months and you are deserving of the leave. Annual leave precisely is to observe it. It is compulsory, but yet you must apply. And we also must note that the idea of saying I'm observing a working leave is an anomy, a very wrong impression in the public service. When you are on leave, you are to stay off this work environment. That I'm on leave, but I'm doing working leave is a wrong notion. Then annual leave can be taken in full or in installments, but it has to be within a calendar year. I know what people will be thinking of. Some people start their leave 31st of December. It is still within the calendar year, and that is why it will now roll into the new year. But if you don't get your approval between that 1st of January and 31st, then you have gotten it wrong. The next thing is that if you don't take your annual leave within a calendar year, it is deemed forfeited because the idea of accumulated leave is no longer encouraged or allowed. Officers are, however, may be required to return to leave before the expiration of their leave period. For this kind of situation, because it is exigent, it is based on the exigency of service, such an officer has the right to enjoy the portion of the leave that is curtailed before, either immediately after rendering the service, exigent service, or at most not later than 90 days after the conclusion of the assignment. When you resume from annual leave, as an officer, you are to complete and submit a resumption of duty certificate. And I want to explain something quickly here. There is the difference between resumption of duty certificate and assumption of duty certificate. Assumption of duty is the one issued at your entry into the service. But for every leave or break, legitimate or authorized break from service, when you are resuming, you are to fill what is called resumption of duty certificate. And let us note that it has to be endorsed and appropriately filed. It will save you from a whole lot of issues. If anything had gone wrong in the course of your leave, if you have it in your file, nobody will say you are part of the thing. And that is just one of the several reasons why you need such a document. Then we also have what is called proportionate leave, or what we call the pro rata leave. Now, this is a form of leave that is usually granted to a new officer or a retiring officer. And why is it so? From the name proportionate, it means you are not having 12 whole months, which allows you for annual leave. Maybe you came in April, and if it is April, it will be counted April to December, which gives you 9 months. And if you are on level 8, you are to take it that the proportion of that 9 months will be 9/12 times the number of days that you should enjoy in a year, which is 30. And if you do that simple arithmetic, 9/12 will become 3/4 divided by 30. And when you cut your 30 by 4, you get 15. So when you say 15 times 3 divided by 2, that is 45 divided by 2, you have 22.5 days that will be approximated to be 23 days leave for that year. Ditto those who are retiring. In the year of your retirement, the number of months that you will spend in the course of the year will determine how your leave will be prorated. I retired, for instance, in February, and 30 days will give me just 2.5 days of every month. 30 days times 12. If you do 30 divided by 12, you get 2.5. And I just spent February. So it's just 2.5 times 2. So in the year that I retired, I only enjoyed 5 days pre-retirement leave because I only worked for January and February. It is important that we note all this because they are very vital when you are acting and computing leaves. Then we have what is called deferred leave. Deferred leave usually, sorry, I forgot to stress one thing on proportionate leave. Because you can only proportion based on number of months. If anybody enters service and would not go on leave for that year because it not be calculated. We can't say 0.5 divided by 12. It's not done. It's the full number of months that determine leave has to do with project. And if he proceeds on leave, has to do with a special situation which is exceptional. Although we say nobody is indispensable, there are some assignments that you have to hold back some people, maybe because of the critical role they are playing and they can't hand it over midstream. So such deferred leave are usually allowed so that you can carry over your previous year's leave into the new year. But the guideline is that you must ensure that you observe it in the following year. And the second that we have to note is that only those who are prematurely retired can commute their deferred leave to cash. So if you are in service and you are marking your time and you will leave, you will exit at your own wish or statutorily, you should endeavor to enjoy your deferred leave before the time of retirement. Let us note that no serving officer can commute deferred leave to cash, and that any approved extension of leave can always be deducted from your deferred leave. So if you have some aggregate of deferred leaves and you go on leave and there is that need for you to overstay, you only need to refer to it that you have a pending deferred leave which you now want to utilize. So then the third one is casual leave. Casual leave, as it stands, it is an absence for a short period, mostly not exceeding 5 days. But where there is convincing necessity, an extension can be granted, but it must be from the approving authority. We also have one thing that I want to mention on casual leave is if you get casual leave, please note it that it will be deducted either in advance or arrears of your annual leave. So it's not just a gift, but I know most HR people, particularly those who are humane, will, because of some reasons and perhaps because that person is also very committed and on duty, just waive it. Then we have sick leave, which is the absence on account of ill health. And let us note it very strictly that the authorization for sick leave can only be given by a recognized medical officer, not a private practitioner or a traditional medical, because the reports of those two are not recognized. But where they are issued, you must take it to a government medical officer or a medical officer in a hospital run by government for validation. It is the responsibility of every officer who is on sick leave to present themselves for examination and also notify their respective agencies within 48 hours. So don't take advantage of the fact, after all, I was sick. So whether they hear or not, you may be running foul of the rules. Then we have maternity leave. For maternity leave, it is the authorized absence enjoyed by female officers, serving female officers who are pregnant, and it is determined based on their expected date of delivery, the EDD. Usually, for the first 2 deliveries, in accordance with the provisions of Lagos State Public Service Rules, you can go on 24 weeks, which is 6 months. But subsequent deliveries after those 2 deliveries will only be for 12 weeks. Note it, when we say 2 deliveries, it includes multiple deliveries too. So don't think if I give birth to twins, I will now go on 48 months. Or if it is triplets, it will be 72 months. It is 24 weeks rather, and no more, no less, whether it is single delivery or multiple delivery. Then we have the adoption leave, also for serving female officers who adopt a child. In their own case, it is for 12 weeks. And I have to mention it that for all these leaves, your annual leave forms part of it. So when you go on adoption or maternity leave, you are not going to benefit from annual leave for that year. I hope it is very clear like that. Where you have benefited from annual leave before proceeding on maternity or adoption leave, it is expected that the period that you will spend over and above the annual leave would be without pay. I hope it is very clear and simple. For paternity leave, it is also a leave that a male officer whose wife is delivered of a new baby or babies, or who has adopted a child, can benefit and enjoy. It is a maximum of 10 consecutive days, and it is only for the first 2 deliveries. Paternity leave does not cover third delivery and others. People do ask a question that is funny. They will say, if I marry 2, 3 wives, and the first one has given first 2 deliveries, when the second one is given first 2 deliveries, I should also be able to benefit. No. The rule is very straightforward about it. You can only benefit on 2 occasions, no more, no less. So it's just expedient on whoever falls into that category to begin to work out how he will share the leave among the wives. Let us note that the grant of maternity leave is precedent on presentation of medical certificate that will show the expected date of delivery, and it must be given not less than 2 months before the EDD. For adoption leave, it can only be approved on presentation of the document for release of the baby. And for paternity leave, it is precedent on that male officer to present the birth certificates or certificates of the children or evidence of release of the adopted child before you can proceed on the leave. Female officers who are nursing mothers have right to 2 hours off duty every day, and this will take a maximum period of 6 months after resumption from maternity or adoption leave, and that is to ensure that they have the best of care for their children. Then we have examination leave. This is just for the purpose of taking an examination. It's different from study leave, and I want to shed light on it. In the case of examination leave, there are some professional bodies that you don't need to go to class. You are tested based on the field experience, requisite experience. So if you want to become a fellow of, if you want to become member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, or you want to do ICANN, you want to do ANAN, all those exams, they only take examination leave. They take examination leave, and it is often limited to the shortest period that the officer will reach the place, partake in the exams, and return to his station. So it's not a leave that you give as blanket. The timetable for the exams must be presented, and then you now add the time, the travel time to get to the venue and also return from the venue. The next is study leave, and this has to be given to an officer who is undertaking an approved course of study within or outside the country. Study leave falls into 2 categories. We have with pay and we have without pay. In both categories, you must provide evidence of admission, you must give duration of the course, and that course must have value addition to both the officer and the service. And finally, it must be relevant to the officer's cadre and profession. So you can't just take study leave, for instance, if you are an admin officer and you now said you are taking study leave to study engineering. Is it relevant to your profession? That becomes a question. So maybe you have to do change of designation and to move into engineer's cadre before you can do that. Equally too, we have to know that with pay is often determined by the length of the program, which should not be more than 18 months. And an applicant has the right to request for an addition of 1 year in event of anything that might delay completion of the program. But if it is without pay, then it means it is above 2 years and over. And you also have the right of an extension. What is called leave on compassionate grounds. This one is just to commiserate and show human feelings and to be humane to anybody on the loss of parents or member of nuclear family. And it could be for a period of 2 weeks within a year. We also have leave for religious purposes. This type of leave would normally be granted to officers who are going on pilgrimages and they are not operational staff or officials assigned to cover any activity of that pilgrimage. And normally, it is expected that such an officer will use part of the annual leave for the exercise. We also have leave on grounds of urgent private affairs. This, for instance, in most cases, will be an extension of leave. Somebody had gone on leave, but an emergency or something happened, which is exceptional, and he has to stay longer. Then such a person has to apply for leave on grounds of urgent private affairs, and the period would either be deducted from deferred leave if that person has any, or it will be granted without salary. We have to get it right. Then we have leave for cultural and sporting activities. This is another leave that is almost identical to the examination leave, because it is to make you participate in either a cultural or sporting event, and the days are determined based on the number of days required for traveling to and fro and the number of days for the events. However, there is a caveat to it. If an appropriate council or agency requests for additional dates and it is justified, it would also be granted. We have sabbatical leave, which is not too common in the public service, except for the tertiary institutions. And the reason is direct. It is meant for research, and it can be done within or outside Nigeria. Only officers on level 15 or equivalent and above can actually apply for sabbatical leave. And it is expected that such an officer will undertake studies that will be of interest and relevance to the service or for national development. And sabbatical leave are usually observed for 12 months, and it is once in 5 years. It is a common issue. It's of common balance in the tertiary institutions, but it's rare in the mainstream civil service. But we have had people in the mainstream civil service. Then we have leave on permanent invalidation. Leave on permanent invalidation. Sorry, just a minute. Yes, leave on permanent invalidation appeals to, and it applies to somebody who has been certified as medically unfit and will not be able to continue in the public service. He has been certified medically unfit and also recommended for disengagement by the medical board. Government believes that for such people, they must also observe leave before proceeding on that disengagement. And there are two considerations for it. If that person has deferred leave, it will be added to the annual leave for that year. Or that person will be granted 2 months, whichever is of greater length, to observe the leave of absence. Leave of absence is an authorized approval to be absent from duty on grounds of public policy. And leave of absence is usually without pay. I have to emphasize this because we have had incidents that some people on leave of absence would also be reasoning that they should be on salary. It is not so, and we should, as much as possible, not allow it to happen. However, when such would happen at all, because we have some circumstance that will make people feel concerned that we must just pay authorization for such, that must have been presented through the head of service. Let me just give one good example. An officer who has a terminal ailment and whose husband does not have any job. If government is not fully funding such, then at that level, and that is where putting rationalization rather, into things will come to play. But the primary import of leave of absence is to sustain your career growth and allow for continuity in service. Leave of absence will not allow break in service. When you come back again, you will retain your seniority. You will retain your seniority, although you have to earn it. You have to earn it. Some people are throwing questions on that I will respond to later, please. So we have various types of leave of absence. The first one is if your spouse, either husband or wife, because don't ever think it's only wives that follow their husbands. Husbands too have the right to follow their wives, particularly if they are going for a course of instruction that will not be less than 9 months duration abroad. The import of it is to stabilize the family. It is to stabilize the family. We don't want any kind of leave that will lead to broken homes. The second one is the leave of absence to join spouse on ground of health or public policy. If, let's dream big. If the president names Bola Okudero today as an ambassador to any country whatsoever, it's an appointment on public policy. And the truth of the matter is he has to go. Yet he wants to protect his job. The tenure of ambassador can be terminated under 6 months, depending on the kind of work and the relationships between the countries. So to preserve your job, you can apply for leave of absence, haven't gotten that kind of appointment. And again, you can, if your wife is in the service, she can also apply to go with you. There is also leave of absence for technical aids corps. There are some exchange programs that are actually handled by the federal government. They exchange brains, medical, teaching, and they go to other countries. And in most cases, they spend 1-2 years and they come back. So if you apply, for instance, and you are shortlisted, you also have the right to use leave of absence as a cover for retention of your career and to be able to come back after it to continue. There are some non-elective political appointments that you can also get leave of absence for. If Olaitan, who is our technical person in the course of this work, is named commissioner, I don't know your state too, but from your state, if you are named commissioner and you become a member of the State Executive Council, you don't need to lose your job. Just apply absence and you can now serve the tenure and return to work. Finally, spouses of president, vice president, governor, deputy governor, chairman or vice chairman can apply for leave of absence to actually play the role of a wife of Mr. President or wife of Mr. Governor, of their elected spouses. Because we know at that point, the elected is overwhelmed with responsibilities and the home front must not suffer for it. So that kind of leave of absence is also granted so as to ensure that the home front does not suffer. You can see that I'm emphasizing home front. It shows the fact that the public service believes that if the home, which is the foundation, is not right, you cannot get the best from the officers and officials. Now, what are the application and processes of leave? The first one is that the permanent secretaries and heads of extra-ministerial departments are the authorized entities to approve leave roster and annual leave period of staff. Don't ever proceed on leave without getting the approval to do so. It could be taken as a way without official leave. Also, all officers, despite that it has been stated that leave is compulsory, you are expected to express your intention for that leave through formal application, and you must observe due diligence. If you are under a director, you have to route it through the director to the permanent secretary. And if you are a director, you write to the permanent secretary. Permanent secretaries too are expected, and other heads of extra-ministerial departments are expected to give prior notice and obtain approval of the head of service before proceeding on their leave. We have to also note that only annual leave is calculated on working days only. Other leaves are inclusive of Saturday and Sundays as well as public holidays. Now, the lesson to learn from there is that if you are on annual leave and there is a public holiday, you have the right to claim it, but clarify so that you don't fall foul of the law. Because it's only working days that you can't in annual leave. But if you go on you go on maternity leave, paternity leave, and there's a public holiday along the line, it is calculated as part of that leave. You can't take it as extra. Again, officers who desire to spend their leave abroad are required to obtain approval of the head of service. And such officers also must observe due diligence by routing their letters through relevant authorities and agencies. Permanent secretaries, as well as heads of extra-ministerial departments, through their directors, admin, and human resource, are to promptly avail the State Auditor General and State Accountant General of the details of officers granted leave without pay. And we all know the reason. In the era of Oracle, the moment that person is granted that leave, that person must be off payroll, so that you don't pay to somebody who has been granted leave without pay. Temporary staff as well as probationary staff are also eligible to observe leave in accordance with the extant rules. Officers who, without acceptable excuse, fail to resume duty on approved date of after expiration of their leave will be regarded as leave, and it will also be considered as absence without pay. Apart from the fact that that person will not get the salary, that person has to face PMB, and the consequence could be very grievous. Dismissed officers are not entitled to any form of leave. Even if that officer had spent 11 months of the year before being dismissed, that dismissal has negated right to leave, and so be granted that leave. As officers, and this will be the last point on the application and process, the mix of service now is so fast and you cannot predict. So you must keep updating yourself with extant circulars on leave. But as HR practitioners, we must just keep updating ourselves so that we don't apply a rule that might either have been amended or totally jettisoned to treat an issue. Ignorance is never an excuse. Let us take it right. Finally, we'll get to the last part of the presentation, which has to do with benefits of leave. Leave will improve your mental and physical health. It will give you time for rest and relaxation, and then you become more renewed when you are coming. It enhances your work-life balance. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It will also increase productivity. When you go on leave, it's a period for reflection. You can reflect and then think of how better can I perform. And then when you resume, you come re-engineered and recalibrated. Leave also allows for personal growth and development. Leave would also encourage stronger relationships. Most people, because of the pressure of work, are hardly known in their respective homes and families. But when you go on leave, for instance, you are closer with them in the house, and you have opportunity of also building that relationship and showing some level of responsiveness and responsibility. Leave will reduce absenteeism because it's an authorized absence. Leave will increase job satisfaction. It also heightens employee morale. And finally, it broadens your perspectives. When you go on leave and you have opportunity to say, I can do it better. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for having given sufficient attention to this presentation. And I want to end with this question: a right or a privilege? I would want you to react to it. You can drop your you can drop your opinion and your position, and maybe after 3 minutes, I will speak to it. Thank you very much. I really enjoy being part of this class, and I wish you the best in service.
Thank you very much, sir. Oga. Please don't go yet. Don't go yet. You
Loads of questions. Thank you so much, sir. We have loads of questions for you. If you look at the chat box, you can see so many emojis. So many emojis. A lot of people are saying some things already. The Dolapo Faiga says, leave is a privilege. Adebisi, we see you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please just keep dropping your questions, keep dropping your comments, your suggestions. I'm sure the facilitator is reading them and is seeing them. So we have 10 questions already. Sir. Okay, so I'll start with question 1. Someone says some exams are in 2 to 3 stages / batches during the year. How many times can study leave be taken in a year? I think I got that question right. How many times can study leave be taken in a year?
Now, you can get it for the time that you would pour and relationship comes to play. If you are the very diligent and dedicated type, even if you need it 5 times, those officers who would approve would always.
Question is saying, in a scenario where the officer loses, can you hear me, sir? In a scenario where the officer loses a mother, father, and sibling in 1 year, can we give 6 weeks and give the annual 6 weeks and still give the annual 6 weeks? That's 12 weeks. Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. I can hear you, sir. So the second question is, in a scenario where the officer loses...
That is a catastrophic scenario.
Okay.
We don't wish it. We don't wish it. But if such a thing happens, basically, it still comes to the area of empathy in human resource. Those who are there must not be heartless to see that that person is actually undergoing serious issues. And as much as possible, they should consider that person for that compassionate leave. But it's something we must not pray that happens to anybody. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, to the next question, sir. Is examination leave taken out of annual leave?
Well, in most cases, it is not counted as part of annual leave. But one thing that is so consistent that I know is that for every leave, particularly all other forms of leave, if you are taking it before your annual leave, there is the tendency that it might be deducted from your annual leave. But there are exceptions. You can even see that even in maternity leave, it was mentioned that if you have observed your annual leave, it would be counted, it will be removed from it, and the extra days that you spend will have to be without pay. So basically, for every leave whatsoever, the only leave that I see that nobody argues with you because it's already stated in full course is your annual leave. You know the number of days and these working days. But the moment you enjoy some form of leave, definitely the system will want to take that part back. But it all depends on the leadership. And it also depends on how so dedicated and committed you are. Like I said, laws are, maybe I should say it, laws are meant for just to manage a process, but we are not to be driven in a manner of not putting some level of empathy and emotional intelligence into the way we apply it. That is the way for the new HR.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I'm sure the person who asked that question was on the call to listen to that. Thank you, sir. So we'll go to the next question. In a case where a pregnant officer has already taken 15 days from annual leave, how many days is the officer entitled to for maternity leave?
We have said that maternity leave, if it is first 2 deliveries, it is 24 weeks. And if you are counting after 2 deliveries, the third and upward, 12 weeks. So if you have spent 15 days, you are just to remove 15 days from the number of 24 weeks. Note that your annual leave is only working days that you count. So if you are removing, it's just the 15 days you will remove. You won't remove your weekend. So
okay, sir.
yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so to the next question. If an officer is granted sick leave before the annual leave, will the sick leave be deducted from the annual leave?
Not really, no. Because you need to recuperate and come back to work. You can even see where an officer is invalidated and seen not to be able to continue.
Okay, sir.
Am I being heard?
Yes,
so
sir. Yes, sir.
For sick leave, I don't really think they have to go that route. It will be most unfair to
the officer.
To the officer.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So I'll go to this question. If someone is on level 10 and got a leave of absence for 3 years, and within the period there is a promotion to level 12, which could not be applied as the fellow is on leave of absence. If the person returns from the duration of the leave of absence, will the person get the due promotion, or what is applicable? Did you get that question, sir?
Yes, I got it.
Okay,
if the person asking the question actually listened to what I said about leave of absence, I said the intendment is to preserve your job, avert break in service, and not lose your seniority. So when you come back from leave of absence, what will really happen is the rule is that you must earn your promotion. So if, for instance, that person went on that leave in 2020 and was due for promotion in 2022, that is when he should have done the promotion, and now came back in 2023. If they have not done promotion in 2023, that person is expected to participate in the 2023 promotion and now earn his own promotion that will be backdated notionally to 2022, but it will not have any financial benefit. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. If I'm tired and becoming unproductive, I think this person is saying that if she's tired or he or she is tired, can the person take leave of absence, and on what grounds would the person take the leave of absence?
Leave of absence is not just for those who are tired. If you are tired, you have to leave the service. So, leave of absence, I have classified those who can take it. It's not a period of reclination or a period to move away from the service. The conditions are clearly stated. You are either going, your spouse is going on a course not less than 9 months, and we don't want a broken home, you can follow. Your spouse has, God forbid, health challenges, or your spouse is appointed, is given a foreign mission appointment as ambassador, as whatever, you can follow. Your spouse has appointment, or you yourself, you applied for the exchange program and you got it, you can apply for leave of absence. If you are given appointment, a non-elective appointment, either as commissioner, special advisor, senior special assistant, whatever name it is called, minister, if you get that kind of appointment, you can also apply for leave of absence. But if it is appointive post, I didn't mention it before, but I have to mention, if it is elective post rather, and not non-elective, then you are expected to resign from service, to exit the service. You can't get an elective post and now say you want to go on leave of absence. So you can't, because you are a little bit frustrated or tired, you now feel leave of absence is the next thing. It doesn't happen that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so I'm going to be skipping some questions because I think you've already answered some of the questions. So just in case we did not answer your question, you can resend the question. Why is adoption leave only for 12 weeks?
It is only for 12 weeks because medically you have not undergone. You see, let me first tell you history about the review of maternity leave. It was a World Health Organization and United Nations proclamation that women should do exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of delivery. And that actually was the basis on which that review came then, and it was approved. And you realize that we have even limited it to the first 2 deliveries, whether it is single or multiple. For subsequent ones, just 12 weeks. Somebody who adopts, for instance, will not breastfeed now. So if we give 12 weeks, and it is consistent 12 weeks, we didn't say on the 3rd adoption, you should take 6 weeks. It's consistent 12 weeks, which is sufficient enough to get familiar to the adopted baby and also take responsibility as the parent. I hope that is clear.
Yes, sir. That's clear, sir. Okay, so the next question is, since leave year is from 1st of January to 31st of December, why do DA and HR insist that we should not go on leave in December?
Well, there is no written rule or law that says you cannot observe your leave in December. But let me just tell you what informed it. Most agencies actually tend to become more active, wanting to meet deadlines and also get their projects completed towards the end of the year. And so they most often will need more hands on ground at the end of the year. And that is why it's an unwritten rule. It even affects people in the position of permanent secretaries too. It's unwritten. But the issue is they will say, this is the end of the year, too many activities. And how do we now have so little officers around to run issues? It has become like a norm, but it's not bound by any rule. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so I'll just go through some questions. When a letter of intention to study is written and PMB was organized and approved, was this question is okay. Sorry, let me go again. When a letter of intention to study is written and PMB is organized and approval was given to such officer, can such officer change the institution of choice to another due to some reason?
Well, you should realize that if you are doing that, it means you are tweaking an approval. You are tweaking an approval. What could be done is to refer to that approval and state that university, for instance, is no longer maybe convenient or comfortable. It will be for personal reasons or whatever, or even for funding reasons. Because if you have chosen, for instance, to go to Babcock when you are applying and you now got admission of Unilag lately, then you can refer to it that for fund constraints, I would wish to take to attend Unilag that offered our own admission late, but you must justify and write to the appropriate agency through your ministry so that you can now have it adjusted and captured rightly. Because if you said you are going to Babcock and you now bring a certificate of Unilag, is that consistent? Have you not? In fact, it's an offense. I hope that is clear.
Yes, sir. It's clear, sir. Okay, so this is another question. Can an officer who got approval for maternity leave in a previous year, which is to expire in a new year, still get entitled to an annual leave in the new year?
The answer is straightforward now. You got that leave within a leave year, which is last year. So it's a new year that you've started another leave year in the new year. So you are entitled to your annual leave for that new year.
Okay, sir. Okay, so I just saw one interesting question now. In the case of a female officer who has had her first 2 deliveries before joining service, will such officer be entitled to 24 weeks maternity leave for the first 2 pregnancies while in service?
Capital no. Capital no. Except that officer has suppressed information. Don't forget that at the point of entry, you fill your CV, record of service. You would have written number of children, date of birth, name of children, date of birth, everything. You have written it there. Most people tend to forget easily that most of the records they submitted at the point of entry are usually kept. And if you now give false or deceptive information, it will be taken against you to have lied on oath or to have suppressed information. So if you have had your first 2 deliveries, you are just eligible for 12 weeks maternity leave when you deliver. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so I'll take this one last question, then we'll take some, and somebody is raising, we have 2 people raising up their hands already. We'll still go back to questions, but let's take this one last question. What time exactly can one apply for paternity leave? Is it immediately after birth, towards the naming ceremony, or after?
Well, it's so clear that the condition precedent is the presentation of the birth certificate or the letter for release of the adopted child. So if you give birth, the 10 days is to, let me just give you the reason behind it. They know that in the first 2 deliveries, women are usually not as experienced and exposed, and they need their husband to lend some hand. It's not to be given so that you can then go back and be giving more pressure on the woman. It's to lend some hand. So if you got the birth certificate at the point of delivery, or evidence of delivery or evidence of the adoption, then you must apply immediately, and that is when it starts to count. If you leave it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks after, or even a week after, it is still, because the essence is defeated. The essence is for you to be available to provide support and possibly assist in getting some things done based on our tradition and culture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Well-grounded answers. Okay, so Ore, please kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Ore Olua, can you hear me?
Ore, good evening. Can you unmute and ask your question?
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Ore.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your lecture, sir. So, 2 quick questions, sir. So, firstly,
Yes.
in the PSR, the casual leave is written in 2 places. So, the first place it wrote is 5 working days. Then in another place, they wrote it's inclusive of public holidays and weekends. So, I don't know why that casual leave is contradicting itself there. Probably there's a particular reason. Then, secondly, sir, this one is an issue with study leave. So usually, let's say you go on study leave for a master's program and you have an exam. Some DNHLs will now tell you that for that examination, you have to write maybe exam leave or you have to take your annual leave, which I feel that since the person is already on study leave, the person should be allowed to at least go and prepare for the examination with that study leave. So is it allowed that you have to take your exam leave and study and annual leave for that exam that you already have leave for? So those are the 2 questions, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ore. Let me start with the second question, which is to state that the approval you have for study leave should be sufficient to cover you for your exams if you are running your master's program on part-time, since it's not full-time. But the only thing is that you must come honest. Submit that timetable, exam timetable, to the DHR. Let the DHR know that you already have approval for study leave, and then that can be captured, because the examination leave most often is to address professional courses. And even we have said it that even for professional courses, you still have to apply, because for professional courses, they are not going maybe at some hour of the day or weekends, but they just go to write exams. And we have said for the system to recognize it, for instance, ICANN, you must also have shown intention that you are running this program and it must be captured. So I think internally, you should just notify that you will be starting your exams and you submit it with a timetable. That will cover it. Then the second question which you asked on casual leave, I'm trying to look back. Can you quote the relevant section? Ore, can you quote the relevant section? Because I have seen 120207 where it says that the period of any leave such as casual, sick, maternity can only be granted and is inclusive of Saturday and Friday. So I need to...
Okay, I'm trying to...
Yes.
I'm trying to find it, the second one. That one has...
Okay, I've seen it. 1202.
0207. That's the first one, right? Okay.
Yes, the first one is 1202.
07.
07.
Yes.
Okay. And the second one is 120231.
No, 120231.
That's what I'm saying. I have also noticed it. You see, what I just want to say is that it must have been an error in the course of producing this, and it's good you are raising it. A committee is already working now on the review of the public service rules. So you can as well also asterisk it. If you are not part of that committee, you could help Ministry of Exam by pointing it out so that it can be corrected. I also
It's
see
noted,
it
sir.
as what?
It's noted, sir. We're working
Yes,
on it already.
yes, I also see it as you have mentioned. So thank you. Any other question?
Okay, yes, we have I think 2 other hands, but before then, I'd like us to take this question. Is parental leave or retirement leave compulsory in the public service? If
It
yes,
is compulsory. People are only staying to their last day to work for God knows what. And if you look at it, I am saying it. For instance, I observed my 2022 leave and finished it the first week of 2023. And I was to retire February 2023. I wrote again for the 5 days. The then head of service said, Bangbo ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ láti kan ni o. The rule says that you must wait for 6 months. Mo nígbà tí mi ò dẹ̀ ní 6 months in kọ́mọ́sà. He said, okay, I approve it, but on one condition. If I call, don't travel, number one. And if I call you that I need you, you must come. You know that one is different from not seeking it. But it is, in fact, there is a circular that was issued to actually draw attention of people to it that they need to observe their pre-retirement leave. I hope that is clear.
Yes, it's clear, sir. But the person is also asking that are there penalties for refusing to go on retirement leave?
Well, if you decide to cheat yourself and not benefit from what rightly belongs to you, what penalty will I give you when you are already leaving? The only thing is that the system needs to strengthen its compliance mechanism to ensure that when that time is up, if you are not standing up, they will walk you out. It's all about the system strengthening its compliance mechanism. But if you look at it in truth, most of those who are most guilty are the very senior ones. Regrettably, permanent secretaries are included. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so someone also asked a question, can an unconfirmed officer be entitled to 24 weeks maternity leave?
Why not?
Okay. Okay, great, sir.
The only leave that I know an unconfirmed officer cannot be entitled is study leave. I hope that is clear. Because
yes,
number one condition for study leave is that you must have been a confirmed officer.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Okay,
Yes.
sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you are male, female. Olateju, please kindly unmute yourself. I just asked you to unmute. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Yes, Tilayo Jane. Okay, Janet.
Yes. I'm listening.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, sir, my commissioner.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, ma'am.
You mentioned something about leave of religious process. Can you hear me, sir?
We can hear
yes.
you. In a
I
situation whereby I want to travel to Umrah or Hajj and apply for leave, do I need to seek for permission to travel for Umrah or Hajj, as in seeking approval from the head of service?
Madam, if you have approval for that leave, if you look at the appropriate circulars, that approval is just one of the conditions precedent to applying for permission to travel abroad. Since you are leaving the shores of Nigeria, even if it is to Benin Republic, it's better you apply for permission to travel abroad. It has a whole lot of consequences. God forbid, if you are immersed in a war, imagine you travel to Ukraine and Russia is bombing, and the state is not aware that you are out of the country. Or you go on a, what do we call it? You go to Jerusalem and you have these issues with all the people fighting Israel. If you don't apply for permission to travel abroad, it's not the problem of government at all. And anything that happens to you is your burden. And the worst part of it, you will again be penalized. Is that clear?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Another question, sir. Assuming someone has observed an annual leave for that year and applied for maternity leave that same year, are we going to subtract the annual leave from the maternity leave, or should we observe it completely?
Maternity leave, I said maternity leave is inclusive of your both the same year. So as a pregnant woman, you should know that you will need. Yes, I'm explaining the issue of maternity leave, that in the explanation we said if you are pregnant, you should know that you won't need to proceed on leave for that year.
Recording in progress.
Because if you do that, then it means you are only putting yourself in serious discomfort, because the number of days spent on leave will be removed from the number of days you have for maternity leave. So that's the explanation to that.
I hope that has answered your question, Madam Olateju Titilayo. So quickly, we're going to take Mrs. Toyin Adeshina. Please kindly unmute yourself, ma, and ask your question.
Madam,
of an officer has not changed her name to the officer's name. In the husband, the wife has not changed her name to the husband's name.
I said the question is, can you all hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Now, you see, basically, the moment something is seen as your right is unfettered. But the leave that we enjoy in the public service, by my own assessment, is a controlled right. It's a controlled right. It is stated you have the right to go on mat leave, you have the right to go.
Recording in progress.
So many things are stated. But when you look at the way in which you go through it, it is still controlled. It is controlled. If it's your right, nobody should possibly tell you to apply. You should know when to go and all those things. But what is important is it has been seen as your right because as a public officer, the instrument that allows you to enjoy it is clearly stated. It's only that there are conditions that you will meet to enjoy them. So if you are saying it's a privilege, then you are not too far from the answer. Because as a privilege, if you even go on leave, can't you be recalled? But if you look at the way it is stated, it is obvious that you have it as a compulsory, is what you must request. And that is the difference. So that's why it is called a controlled right, or if you say a privilege because you can be recalled, you can have it terminated midway and be told to go and come, address, contact, and everything. I hope that
Other questions should be please posted on the platform so that we can wrap up now. So thank you very much for joining this call this night. So Oga, before you leave, please, can you give us your parting shots? Please encourage us, and then we will unmute all of us to appreciate Oga for this time that he has